Welcome to EdMask, the channel for education, learning and development. Today I want to talk about an important issue that concerns all of us. Can we feel grief after a political event? Welcome to EdMask, the channel for education, learning and development. I welcome you once again to this channel, EdMask. What is politics? What is being said is the art of possibilities. Have you ever felt heartbroken after an election? Exhausted about the news, or deeply sad about political decisions that doesn't even affect your direction? If so, you might be experiencing something psychologists call political grief. And today we are talking about it. What is grief? What is grief really? Many people think grief only happens after someone dies. Could be a brother, a sister, a friend, or any relative anywhere in the world, or your close friend anywhere in the world. But grief actually is a response to loss. If you look at loss of safety, loss of rights, loss of hope, loss of identity, and loss of future we imagined. During a political situation, you understand that some people, because of tension between the two parties or the parties involved in the politics, they get that tension, and some of them tend to lose their safety. So some of them keep in hiding, some of them keep undercover just to be protected or protect their safety. But also we lose our rights because sometimes there are some operations that are being put forward, particularly to those who are opposing the system. Then you also lose hope. For those who have got the hope for the future, once you lose, then you cannot be able to think ahead. Or people lose hope, particularly those people who are optimistic for the future, looking at the future as a bright future for any change that would come. Or maybe there's so many opportunities one would come in as a cause of politics. Then there's also loss of identity. Many people lose their identity. People get dispersed, people get abused, and then they lose their personal identity due to political angles. Also, the loss of future that we imagined, the new future, something we've not gone to, because all along we've been fighting for that, to be in the future. And now time comes when you've lost, then that means you get aggrieved or you get grief. So grief is emotional attachment meeting sudden change. And therefore, realize that politics affects our communities, then it affects our values, it affects the sense of belonging, and also the vision of the future. So yes, it can hurt deeply and cast across the person who is contesting, brothers and sisters, all the relatives, friends, those who are behind you, those who are giving you the support. I will go step by step to highlight the examples of political grief. I'll give you a reference to the well-known global events that one look at and know that many people, you or me or other people, are getting grief because of politics. I'll tell you that people are mourning after war begins. I'll give you an example, the war in Ukraine. People are mourning, people are grieved, people have got grief day and night. I also tell you that communities grieving, policy changes affect human rights. But also division after election is in a country like United States. You've seen countries get divided because of the political situation. You also look at protest moves like the Black Lives Matter, emerging collective grief and injustices. All these come as a result of politics. In discussion, I can also highlight a few things like political grief often shows up as a result of anxiety, it comes as a result of hunger, but also it comes as a result of helplessness. You realize that also because of political grief, there is emotional exhaustion, where people feel they are emotionally exhausted, but also have that withdrawal, personal withdrawal or community withdrawal. Above all, there's doom scrolling. The situation looks as if people are doomed. It is not weakness. When someone, you need to know that when we are grieving, when we are in politics, grieving is not weakness. It is an attachment to something you care about. One would ask me, why political grief feels so personal? I've seen so many people in politics, those who have lost. You see as if they feel, like you feel a pity someone having lost. When you look at the resources, when you look at the time, when you look at everything, so many things that have the inputs, the resources that someone has put in. But politics isn't an abstract. It connects your identity, it connects your family, it connects your culture, but also it connects your safety. And let's say you realize that politics connects your dreams. In politics, certain something central to who you are, your brain responds the same way. It would be other forms of loss. Social media intensifies it. 24/7 news cycle. We promote grief. Listening to news all the time will bring you anxiety and will bring you grief. Constant exposure. You being exposed to so many people all the time. People will be feeling pity for you. You also feel pity for yourself. Also, the emotional headlines or the news, everyone is talking about you or talking about the loss. That one will also affect you and cause you grief. And maybe the driven outrage, algorithm, the driven outrage, like you feel you've lost everything. So that brings you grief and affects your life as an individual. The nervous system doesn't know the difference between hidden threats and the immediate threats. So in other words, you need to compose yourself after the loss so you don't get affected. One would ask me, is it healthy to grieve political events? Yes, with awareness. Grief can signal your values. It can connect you with others. It inspires your action and deepens sympathy. But unmanaged grief can turn into chronic stress, burnout, and also polarization, as well as emotional numbness. So the goal is not to stop caring. The goal is to care sustainably. So how do you cope with political grief? Offer political tools. Here we look at limit news consumption. My brother or sister, limit news consumption. Choose intentional time to engage. You should not engage each and every one. You see someone loses, one chooses to run radio to radio, TV to TV, and that alone might affect you. So you need to choose or make intentional time for engagement. And when you need to be listening to either to news. Second, talk about it. Community reduces isolation. You need to keep with your people. Keep around your people because they know you better and they can be able to help you to go through this kind of grief. Take action. Volunteer. You can also donate. You can also organize or vote. Because you losing doesn't mean there are no other actions coming after your loss. Keeping the system. Action transforms helplessness into urgency. So you need to be active as you've been before so that you don't get isolated, you don't get lonely. You also need to protect your mental health. Log off, walk outside, rest, and then breathe. You breathe it off so that you don't get stuck or get that pain. Then you need to separate identity from outcome. An election result is not your worth. You imagine if you have a community of 1,000 people and then you find yourself you've got 1,000 people voting for you. Does it mean you are worth 1,000 people? So that you go into grief to an extent of losing your life? Does it? It's not worthy. Therefore, I would say a nation is not your worth. A nation result is not your worth. And this one has to be at the back of your mind. Whatever I get, from this kind of process of elections might not be my worth. So you should not put yourself to a level of a loss. Not even a win could put you to think you are far above the rest, or you are far above below the rest. So how do you transform grief into purpose? Some of the most powerful movements in history were born from collective grief. People who are not aggrieved, people who don't have the grief, sometimes don't come together. And that's why you see historically people who come together to fight for their rights, for their everything. These are people who have been in grief for a long time, but in actual sense that grief brings them together. Grief builds solidarity. It brings unity among the people who are being aggrieved. It sparks change, but also strengthens communities. Therefore, grief is not the opposite of hope. It can be the beginning of it. Therefore, if you have felt devastated by the political event, you're not dramatic. You're not dramatic. You are human. Caring about your country, your rights, and your future is a form of love. And grief is a form of love with nowhere to go. So feel it, process it, and make sure channel it. But don't let it consume you. Because of sustainable change doesn't come from burnt out. It comes from steady, grounded change. Because you realize that the feelings involved in political grief are just as legitimate as any other loss. It can therefore to seek out opportunities for meaningful conversation across differences where possible. Political grief is not a weakness. It's evidence that we care deeply about our world and the process in it. Organizing and processing this grief will create a possibility for healing and connection, although at times this can seem to be seen as a form of hope. If you like the video and need more videos to listen in, go to Edma's YouTube channel, subscribe, like and share. Thank you. Bye.